Welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast. Just talked a little bit about wide receivers. Anthony asked about his top receivers. I do like a lot of those guys. I think Jack Bash, he's going to be really solid at the next level out of TCU. I think that's going to be a guy that is going to be, one of those day two picks that ends up producing really well. Jaden Higgins, I also like a lot. I had a couple other guys that I think they're just more of my personal favorites, but yeah, I mean, those guys are all pretty solid. I'm not huge on this class overall in terms of like elite talent, but I think there's a couple guys that could definitely be starters, at least 4 or 5. So, but I really like Jack Bash out of TCU, though. I think he's going to be a really solid wide receiver, probably like a wideout too for, I don't know. I think if he ends up in the right system, like, what if he ends up with the Rams? I think that could be a really interesting fit with Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. That would be something exciting, I think. But, so, it's still draft talk. Want to talk a little more? One of the things that I've been seeing today is Ashton Jeanty maybe going to Jacksonville. Obviously, Jaguars have a new GM, new head coach in Liam Cohn. Could they actually maybe go run a game? I don't know. I kind of doubt that. They still have ETN. But it does sound like they might go this way. Diana Rossini did say that the Jags were hoping to keep the draft, quote, electric. That was the actual word that was used, was electric. Is Ashton Jeanty electric? I think he certainly is, but will that be a spot for him? I don't know, because it really sounds like John Spytek wants Ashton Jeanty if he's there at number 6 for the Raiders. Yeah, but I don't know if I really see Ashton Jeanty going to Jacksonville. The more I see the Jaguars, the more their picks are kind of all over the place. Mason Graham had been the guy for months, basically, at that number 5 spot that had been mocked, and now that's kind of all out the window right now. We'll see if that's just all a smokescreen. They really do need defensive tackle help, though, bad. What teams do you see trading up from the 20s to get around 13? I don't know who trade-up candidates are. Tight end-wise, I think Colson Loveland will probably be at 14. I see what you're saying, though, to go to 13 to get in front of Indy. I'm curious, too, because some teams have Colson Loveland as tight end 1 over Tyler Warren. I do not, personally. I think Tyler Warren's just a better prospect overall. I'm curious to see if Tyler Warren goes at, like, 7 to the Jets, because the Jets are kind of all over the place right now in terms of their projection. If Tyler Warren goes to like the Jets at 7, does Chicago maybe, or do the Saints maybe look at a tight end like Colson Loveland? I think that's possible. I'm looking at I think Denver at 20. They might be trading. They could trade either way. Sean Payton always likes to use tight ends, and they don't have a super strong tight end. I think they signed Evan Ingram, but they could always use another tight end. I think they could try to trade back, though, too, right now, because they're in an interesting spot, because they're in front of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at 21. If they think the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback, could they potentially trade back to let one of those teams, like the Browns, Giants, trade in to get in front of Pittsburgh to draft a quarterback? Especially if Shedeur Sanders falls. That's the other thing that's been happening today. Yeah, the Ravens are a really solid option. Ravens, yeah, they kind of do their own thing. I could see them. I've actually seen Mark Andrews as maybe being on the trade block to get traded tonight. I kind of doubt that, but Eric DaCosta had some comments this offseason where it really put Mark Andrews' future in jeopardy. They also do have Isaiah Likely, though, in Baltimore, and I know they really like him a lot. They're probably going to have him kind of step in that role. Chargers do make a lot of sense. The Harbaugh connection. they could use a tight end, a playmaker at tight end. The Rams, I'm really kind of interested to see what they do. I think I'm not really sure what the Rams do at 26, honestly. I'm not the biggest Jaxson Dart fan, but I will say I think the one place where he can be successful and be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL is if the Rams draft him at 26. I don't know. I kind of going back and forth with the Rams right now. I'm also curious to see what Carolina's going to do. So it really sounds like Carolina doesn't want to pick at 8. Will they try to, and they've been trying to trade back. I wonder if somebody's going to try to trade into that 8 spot, especially if they think New Orleans is going to go quarterback. I don't really think the Saints will. Also, Dan Graziano today said that the Giants prefer Jaxson Dart over Shedeur Sanders, and as well as Todd McShay reported that apparently Shedeur Sanders, his meeting with Brian Daboll did not go well. Brian Daboll was reportedly frustrated with Sanders' lack of preparation on an installation package. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I really believe that. Everything it sounds like is that the Giants have really liked Shedeur Sanders throughout this entire process. I don't think he's going to fall out of round 1. Obviously, that's been said a lot today. It'd be really surprising to me. I think the number of quarterbacks in the first round is probably going to be 3 today. I don't know, though. It's possible. Another thing that I thought was funny that I saw right before the show is, so Ashton Jeanty is favored to be picked at number 5, which is currently owned by the Jaguars, but he's also favored to be picked by the Chicago Bears. So could the Bears be trying to move up into, the top 5 pick to get Ashton Jeanty? Apparently, I also saw that the Jaguars have been trying to trade up to 2 or 3 to maybe get Travis Hunter. I guess they've been talking with Cleveland a little bit. I don't see Cleveland or the Giants trading out of that 2 or 3 spot. I think the potential to add a difference maker is just too big there. And I think after the top couple of prospects, the second tier of prospects, it's much murkier, much more up for debate. But I wonder what's going to happen there. I'm also curious to see, so Walter Nolen, Matt Miller called him a red-hot riser. A lot of mocks I've seen recently have been projecting him to go to the San Francisco 49ers at 11. But then other mocks I've seen, he's all the way out of the first round. I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see his range. There's character effort questions with Walter Nolen, but this is a guy that was the top prospect in his recruiting class. Obviously, elite talent, really kind of put it all together for Ole Miss this past season, and teams have really been putting more of an emphasis on pass rushing defensive tackles in the past couple of years. You started to see teams pay a premium for that position. Milton Williams just got a bag this offseason because he can rush the passer as a defensive tackle. And then another guy I'm looking at just because of injury-wise is Josh Simmons. Where's he going to end up? I really like the fit. If he is at 31, I think Kansas City jumps on that right away. Josh Simmons is a kid that was probably going to be a top 10 pick before his ACL tear this season. Really talented offensive tackle. Kansas City obviously still has issues with that. They did sign Wanye Morris, but I don't know if that's going to be the full answer or solution to that problem. But I think Josh Simmons, he also could be a top 10 pick, or he could be a second-round pick. That's the fun thing with this year's draft class is we really don't know after the first few picks. I think it's really up in the air. I think this is going to be a year where individual team draft boards matter more so than anything else. We're probably going to see at least 3 or 4 picks tonight that most people are going to kind of scratch their heads, but that's probably just how that team's board shook out. in terms of that kind of middle tier of prospects. I don't know. I'm excited, though. We'll see. I'm sure there's probably has been even more rumors that have come on since I've been on the air, but I haven't seen anything right now. I'm sure there's going to be some good ones when I come back. There's always a fun one or two. Draft day is always great, especially for misdirection kind of stuff. I think it makes it more fun. Just overall, it's the strategy, the gamemanship. It's all a part of it. It's all a part of trying to win in the NFL. So right now we're going to take a short break. Then when we come back, guess what? We got more draft talk, but that's all right. We're going to talk a little bit about veterans, guys who I think could be traded tonight or throughout this weekend, and why. But we'll be back shortly on the GSMC College Football Podcast.